Welcome to the Montgomery County High School Football Show with your hosts, Main Street Clarksville sports editor Brady McAtamney and Robertson County Connection sports reporter David Wilson. The Montgomery County High School Football Show is brought to you by the Bone and Joint Group of Clarksville. They are committed to serving the community by providing a superior standard of care to all of their patients. Rock and Roll Sushi of Clarksville. Stop by their Wilma Rudolph location today and grab one of their signature sushi rolls and listen to some classic rock hits. C-Wraps of Clarksville. Whether you're in need of a new color change to your vehicle or would like a new wrap to advertise your business, C-Wraps has the knowledge and expertise to get you back on the road in style. Danielle Stack at Farmers Insurance. If you're in the market for new auto, home, life, business, renters, or even pet insurance for your fur baby, Danielle can secure you with a personalized plan that fits all of your needs. And the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Remember, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Now, here are Brady McAtamney and David Wilson.
Welcome to the Montgomery County Football Wrap-Up Show. My name is Brady McAtamney, sports editor at Main Street Clarksville, here to talk to you about all things Week 8. As always, with my co-host, David Wilson. He is the sports reporter for the Robertson County Connection. David, how was your weekend, man?
I'm doing okay. It wasn't a good weekend for the Braves and my Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Saturday was really, really tough. So I didn't come out of my house on Sunday. I just stayed in all day. We'll see if the Packers can make things better and the Braves can find a way to bounce back in that Philly series. But other than that, I'm doing well.
That's right. It is redeemable. I will say, as a Lions fan, I had a pretty good weekend. You know, I don't have Tigers or anyone to root for currently. So the Lions are pretty make or break for me right now. And they definitely had a make weekend with a 42-24 win over the Carolina Panthers. But
when are you guys actually going to play a good team? You played the Falcons, Carolina. Come on now.
Well, didn't we beat the Packers and the Chiefs?
I'm not saying the Packers are good.
Fair enough. Well, they got the Bucs this upcoming weekend, so
oh gosh,
that could be a decent game. But let's talk Clarksville football. That's what the folks are here to see, and I think I know where we're starting.
Yeah, we're going to start with the undefeated Clarksville Wildcats. They thrashed Kirkwood this past week. 62-6, it was the final score there. Our Clarksville High School football segment is brought to you by the Bone and Joint Group of Clarksville. The Bone and Joint Group is committed to serving their community by providing a superior standard of care for all their patients. So give them a call today at 931-905-1001. Friday was a big night for Clarksville High. But not just because they won. What else happened there, Brady?
Yeah, so Clarksville High was approaching a new single-season record, and it was going to take a lot of points for them to get there. They were approaching the single-season record for most points scored in a season in school history. They were coming in at 382 was the school record. They would need to score 60 points to tie it. So obviously that's a tall task for any team. So all they did was come out and score 55 points in the first half. 55 in the first half. So all they needed was one more touchdown to break that record, and they got that in the second half when they brought the JV team out for the final 24 minutes. It was a running clock, so they were able to get that last touchdown and break that record. Like I said, that previous record, 382 points in 2011. They've already broken that. In fact, they were almost there with 2.5 games left. Of course, they broke that with 2 games left. Did a little number crunching, and they are averaging 48 points per game this season. I mean, that is pretty incredible. I know that they faced some teams with, some reeling defenses, some teams who, are maybe going through some rebuilding years, to put it nicely. But still, to go out there and be able to do that, I mean, 48 points per game is no joke. Teams are happy to get 48 points in 2 weeks. So maybe even more. So that's just really impressive what Clarksville High is doing. They did that behind huge performances, of course, from James Dalrymple and Amari Galbraith. Both of those guys had 2 touchdowns. James Dalrymple approached 200 yards on less than 10 carries. Those 2 guys have just been absolutely dominant on the ground, and it's opened up opportunities for their other players like Trey Youngs, a quarterback who had a big touchdown run. Really nice play. I got a video of it on my Twitter. He did a fake handoff and then a fake reverse to James Dalrymple, which is kind of what they were running to a lot of great success. and he kind of just tucked the ball away and ran through the gap. I mean, it was a great play that Kirkwood just fell for, hook, line, and sinker. And I think a lot of teams would, because they were defending Galbraith, they were defending Dalrymple, as you have to. Just left the rest of the field wide open for Trey Young. So they even threw for a touchdown, which is something that they don't necessarily do a ton. But when you're up by that many, you can kind of just make it somewhat of a practice, which is kind of what they did. So, just an incredible game for Clarksville High. Already at 384 points this season. They're going to just look to extend their points record for the season. 2 more games left in the regular season. Of course, Rossview, the next one coming up after fall break. And they'll definitely have at least one postseason game to keep that record going. So they're easily going to pass 400 points. It's really just a matter of how high can they get.
Brady, let's switch to the opposite sidelines in this contest. Let's go to the Kirkwood side. Our Kirkwood High School football segment is brought to you by C-Wraps of Clarksville. Whether you need for a new color change to your vehicle or like a new wrap to advertise your business, C-Wraps has the knowledge and expertise to get you back on the road in style. So give them a call today at 931-551-5255 for a free estimate. Kirkwood started the year 4-0. They've dropped now 4 games in a row. Was this loss a season ender for the Cobras?
So while it might have felt like one on the sidelines while you're getting scored on every other minute, and it's 55-0 at halftime, and you're in there in that locker room at halftime thinking, man, are they going to score 100 points on us? Like, what is going on? Like, it might feel like a season ender when you're in the moment, but no, it's not. And that's what Chad Watson was telling those guys after that game. He wasn't in that huddle, tearing them apart, ripping them to pieces. He was telling them, man, the season's not over. I mean, we can still make the playoffs, and that is absolutely true. They still got 2 games left in the regular season against Kenwood and against West Creek, 2 teams who are also in the playoff hunt. As of right now, there are 4 spots left, or 4 teams battling for 2 spots. Of course, Clarksville High and Rossview have locked in those top 2 spots in the region. And then there's Dixon, there's West Creek, there's Kenwood, and there's Kirkwood battling for those last 2 spots, those tickets to travel for the playoffs. And they're going to be, and like I said, Kirkwood's going to be playing West Creek and Kenwood. So they win those 2 games, and they're absolutely in the playoffs. And they succeed in getting their preseason goal of being in the playoffs and being over 500 for the regular season in their first season ever, something that no team, as far as we know, has done in their first year in Tennessee. So their goals are all still on the table. I know it's been a really rough couple of weeks, losing those games to Dixon, to Rossview, to Liberty Creek, and of course now just getting blown to smithereens by Clarksville High. It's been a really, really tough go after winning those first 4 games. So it might feel like the sky was falling, especially during that game while they're getting hung on their heads. But the season's not over for Kirkwood. I know Chad Watson knows that. I know his staff knows that. And I know he's making sure his players know that.
Let's transition in Montgomery Central. They faced a Region 5-4A power this week in Marshall County, and they lost by a final score of 58-6. A Montgomery Central High School football segment is brought to you by Danielle Stack at Farmers Insurance. If you're in the market for new auto, home, life, business, renters, even pet insurance for your fur baby, Danielle can secure you with a personalized plan that fits all your needs. So give her a call today at 931-553-1493. What can Montgomery Central look forward to in these last 2 weeks of the year, Brady?
Yeah, so the good news is that all their traveling is over. They don't have to travel away from the hill for the rest of the season. The bad news is they still got some pretty decent teams coming up. Station Camp and Greenbrier to round out the season. Of course, they get to kind of just take a break this week, get their minds off football, something that these guys probably desperately need at this point, because it's obviously been a really tough season for Montgomery Central. Now 0-8 after taking that brutal loss to Marshall County. Of course, Marshall County does that to a lot of teams, so I don't think they need to hang their heads too much on that one. While, of course, you'd like to win or at least lose by a closer score, it is what it is. That Marshall County Tigers team is really, really good. They're going to be competing for that 4A state championship right there with their region mate, Pearl Cone. So no reason to hang their heads there. But, yeah, like you said, they get to look forward to a couple more home games. So, of course, that's going to include senior night. Hopefully the fans get out there and support these guys because, like I said, it has been a tough season. And, I kind of liken it to what Trey Turner was going through with the Phillies this year. He was going through a real bad slump, and they all came together to give him a standing ovation at one point, and that just turned his season around. So I hope that these kids can continue to get some support from their community. I know the Cunningham community loves to rally behind these kids. They love that Montgomery Central football team. So I hope that when they play Station Camp, when they play Greenbrier, get out there for senior night, continue to support these kids, because it has been a tough season. But of course, they're working their butts off. None of these guys are giving up on this season. And I do commend Clarksville Academy, or rather Montgomery Central and their staff, Corey Wright and the others, for making sure that these kids continue to grow as young men, as football players, and finish out this season, hopefully on a strong note.
You just had to mention the Phillies to rub salt in my wound and mention Trey Turner, who's an absolute pest that just constantly hurts the Braves. So we'll ignore that, and we'll see if Justin can edit that out, because I don't want that in there. We'll move on to Rossview. Our Rossview High School football segment is brought to you by Rock and Roll Sushi of Clarksville. Stop by the Wilma Rudolph location today and grab one of their signatures sushi rolls and listen to some classic rock hits. Rossview a winner this past week, 30-0 over McGavock. What did you learn about Rossview on Thursday night?
Yeah, so I wrote about this game. This was, of course, like you said, a Thursday night game against McGavock, beating the Raiders 30-0. Their running game wasn't really working as well as it typically does. Of course, the defense was strong, as always, allowing just 6 points in their last 6 games. Quick math says that they're allowing 1 point per game. Of course, you can't really allow an extra point per game, but that's how it's been so far, allowing just 1 touchdown against Dixon County in the last 6 games. It's been an incredible defensive performance for these guys. That continued against McGavock, shutting down TJ Ward, a really, really talented sophomore running back who's already got offers from Eastern Kentucky and Marshall as only a sophomore. So he's a real impressive kid. They did a really good job at stopping him. But what I learned about them is when the run game isn't really going the way they want it to, that kind of happened with McGavock kind of plugging up the holes up the middle. They kind of knew Rossview was going to try to go for that. So what they did was they started throwing the ball. And Rossview, while they have thrown the ball at times this year, they didn't really have any passing games like they did on Thursday night. They threw the ball 16 times, which I'm not sure if that's a season high. I'd have to go back and check. But it's definitely the most I've seen them throw the ball. 155 passing yards, and it wasn't just to one guy like Colin Michael or JT Sims like they've kind of done in the past. They spread the ball out. JT Sims, Colin Michael, Hank Reeser, Brody Perry, those guys all catching the ball. In fact, Todd Hood called this group of wide receivers the best group of wide receivers he's had since he's been at Rossview. Not even close. Brody Perry, who came into that game with about, I think 2 catches for maybe 20 or so yards this year, had 5 catches for 84 yards, including a touchdown catch and including a sweet diving catch down the sideline for 30-something yards on a great ball from Reed Bryant. Reed Bryant, of course, had a great game. He threw those 3 touchdown passes. Brody Perry, by the way, his first year playing football. He's a great athlete. They recruited him along with several of his teammates from the baseball team. Of course, Rossview baseball has been great these last few seasons. So they're like, hey, let's go get these guys. They know how to win. They're great athletes, and it has absolutely been working out. Another baseball kid, Hezekiah Scott. He was a football player the last couple of years, sat out last year to focus on baseball. And, that's a decent idea because he's a pitcher who throws like 92, great athlete, but he's kind of been their running quarterback. They've subbed him in at times to just run. He runs kids over for a quarterback. I mean, and for a pitcher especially, you don't really expect him to come in and just bulldoze kids, but he's been doing that. He scored a rushing touchdown, threw a pass attempt, fell incomplete, but they know he could throw the ball too, especially because of how good he is as a pitcher. But that just adds another wrinkle to this Rossview offense. They know that they're going to go to DJ Young, who didn't really do a ton this game, but that's because they opened up the pass game so much and we're ready to just kind of open up that playbook, throw the ball a little bit, and maybe show Clarksville High, their upcoming opponent, like, hey, if you don't respect our passing game, we're going to throw it on you. And that's absolutely something that Isaac Shelby and the team are going to have to look at when looking at this Rossview crew.
We'll take our first commercial break here on the Montgomery County Football Wrap-Up Show. Coming up, we'll talk about Clarksville Academy and a big win for Kenwood right after this.
When it comes to insurance, you want a name you can trust. Wendy Danielle Stack is here to help. With over 7 years of experience, Danielle and her team are here to assist you in finding the right coverage for all of your needs. From auto and home to life and business insurance, we have customized options for everyone. We'll work with you to create a personalized plan that protects everything in your life that matters most. Call today and see for yourself why Danielle Stack is the go-to insurance agent in Clarksville.
Meet Dr. Casey Sigerson of the Bone and Joint Group, Clarksville's only hand and wrist specialist. He's passionate about getting his patients back to living their life after suffering from an injury or degenerative condition. Dr. Sigerson treats all orthopedic conditions, from injury to recovery, and is dedicated to getting his patients moving again. Whether you need joint arthroscopy, joint replacement, fracture care, or help with a hand or wrist problem, Dr. Sigerson is here to help. Schedule your appointment today at boneandjointgroup.com.
Here at Rock and Roll Sushi, we're proud to be the original American-style sushi restaurant founded on great food and rock and roll music, boasting concepts and flavors that are big, bold, and loud. We're the only place to experience the rock you love and the rolls you love with the ones you love. Come see for yourself why we're the best sushi experience in town. Find us at 108 Morris Road in Clarksville or visit our website at rockandrollsushi.com. If you're looking for a color change, look no further than C Wraps. We're Clarksville's premier vinyl wrap provider, delivering high-quality work and exceptional customer service. We offer a wide range of services, including color change wraps, ceramic coating, paint protection film, and wraps for commercial vehicles. Whether you need a color change on a luxury car or commercial wraps for your business fleet, we have the expertise to handle any project. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome back to the Montgomery County Football Wrap-Up Show. I am David Wilson, sports reporter for the Robertson County Connection, joined by your guy, Brady McAtamney, sports editor for Main Street Clarksville. He's feeling good this week after the Lions' big win over the Panthers. We'll keep it rolling, Brady. Let's talk about Clarksville Academy, a 35-0 loss to DCA this past week. They changed some things up on offense with first-year head coach Stedman Bell. What, they switch up and did it work? Obviously not.
Well, they did get shut out, but they started to move the ball a little bit. Of course, Chris Reagans, who is just a superb athlete, has been at quarterback this year. He moved to wide receiver this week, got 87 receiving yards, catching the ball from Ethan Bones, which is a sweet name in my opinion. Sophomore quarterback. He threw for 158 yards. So, I mean, overall, you're going to take that. Really what they've struggled to do is run the ball against DCA. So they were able to throw the ball a little bit. You figure if they can get that run game going, maybe the offense can kind of pick up a little bit. It kind of gives me a little bit of hope for this group, because Ethan Bones, like I said, he's only a sophomore, clearly was comfortable throwing the ball because they did it quite a bit. Like I said, with that 158 yards, several pass attempts. Reagans had 87 yards. He's just a super athlete. And Andreas Scott, as a guy that we talked about on the show before, he had 59 receiving yards. So those two were his top targets. Both guys fast, tough to bring down. So you like to think that, if they can continue getting these guys involved over the last couple games, and they can keep them around in the off season, keep them, lifting weights, building up that speed, building up that rapport with one another. Maybe there's something there for Clarksville Academy with the Bones, Reagans, Scott trio. And, they continue to add players, get other players more confident with one another. Then, Clarksville Academy could have something coming together. I'm not saying it's going to be another Meriwether, Wyatt, Wallace grouping, because that was a special group that these guys had. However, there's clearly a light at the end of the tunnel for this group with some of these players that they got going on. And I know Coach Stedman Bell is going to continue to work on these guys. He loves this group. He loves coaching these guys. And I know that they're going to stick to it, and they're going to continue to get better every week, and look forward to next season and look forward to these last two games and continue to hopefully get some good things going.
Kenwood was a big winner this past week, 47-7 win over Northwest, their second of the year. What did they do to allow them to win so handily last week, Brady?
Man, so I actually had to text Jarrett Sneed when I saw this on Max Preps. I was going through the game stats and looking around, and I was like, this can't be right. This has to have been inputted incorrectly. I saw that they had 5 interceptions, and I was like, okay, that's really impressive. That's a great game for this defense. 3 of them by Christian James, who's only a sophomore. And then I looked over a couple columns and saw that they also recovered 5 fumbles. So that means 10 forced turnovers. That can't be right. I texted Coach Sneed. I said, hey, is this correct? Did you guys force 10 turnovers against Northwest? He goes, yes, we did. That is correct. And wow, I mean, 10 forced turnovers. I know Northwest offense has struggled this season, but for Kenwood's defense to be able to do that, I mean, that doesn't just happen on accident. It's not like Northwest's offense is going out there and the quarterback's there, the running back's there, and just like, hey, we want you to have this. This is your ball. No, you have to go out there and force these things to happen. So I am really impressed by what Kenwood did with that defensive effort, because if that defense can get some confidence out of this, and I don't know how you don't, they don't have that off week this upcoming week. They're the only team in the county who's going to be playing, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit here. How's that for a teaser? So we're going to talk about that, but I mean, that gives them confidence heading into arguably their biggest game of the season so far. I mean, just an incredible effort. Like I said, Christian James, sophomore, 3 interceptions. For them to go out there and score 47 points, of course, that's a season high for them. Now on a 2-game winning streak, beating both Northeast and Northwest very handily. I kind of like what I'm seeing from Kenwood here. And like I talked about earlier with Kirkwood, they're one of the teams still competing for a playoff spot with Dixon County and Kirkwood rather coming up. So, man, Coach Sneed's squad could have something cooking here.
Let's transition to the other sideline. Northwest, 47-7 loss to Kenwood. But the defense has been put in some really tough positions all year long. But there's some really good players on that side of the ball. Who's putting up good numbers for them?
Yeah, so I wanted to look at some of these guys. Like I said, they just had to deal with 10 turnovers in a game. So that really makes things hard on the defense. They're out there a lot. But Bryce Brooks is a guy, he's only a junior. He's got 9 tackles for loss this season. So he's out there making sure the offense goes backwards. He doesn't want that offense going forward on him. Cal Avila, who's a senior, he's one of those guys that they've kind of relied on to be the leaders on that defense. He's averaging 8.5 tackles per game. So for a group that's out there a lot, he's really doing his best to stop that offense from moving. He's a passionate kid. I remember at the Jamboree, I mean, he was out there just passionate, man. A guy who hates when teams gain yards on him. He demands the best from his teammates around him. Deontay Crawford, he's a senior defensive back, 35 solo tackles this season. Pretty good as a back in the backfield, defensive backfield rather. So, I do feel for these kids because they're out there doing their absolute best. They're being coached up well, but they are being put in some tough situations this year. It has been tough on these kids, but they're working hard. I mean, they even got some kids with some college scholarship offers. So it's not like this is a completely talentless team. That is absolutely not the case. This Northwest crew has some pretty good players, and we're probably going to talk about them a little bit more next week on our as we recap the off week here. So be ready for that.
Northeast was shut out by West Creek by a final score of 43-0 last week. It's been a tough year for Northeast, but there's some exciting news coming up in the depths of their middle school program. Kind of talk about that, Brady.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago was the first, or rather last week was the first middle school championship in the area, and Northeast team was right there in the game. They finished actually undefeated in the regular season. They had a crazy points against differential, outscoring teams by well over 100 points in the regular season. Of course, that's every middle school in the area. So, Richview, New Providence, Kenwood, all the other schools in the area, Northwest, Montgomery Central. it's a good squad that they had. And they had guys who really impressed me. Caden Davis was a really athletic little quarterback as he continues to grow and get better and improve his football knowledge. I mean, that kid's got a chance to really do something. Elijah Hurd, another really athletic kid. But one kid that really stood out for me for Northwest was Peyton Smith. I mean, this kid was probably already about 6 feet tall. He was clearly having fun out there, you know. At one point, he dragged like 4 defenders with him down the sideline. He gets up, he goes, "They can't tackle me." His coaches had to be like, "Hey, stop that." But he was having fun, man. That's how you can tell he watches football and loves football, because he's picking up on some of these mannerisms of like some of the best players in the league. So this is a kid with some swagger. He's already big. He's already a good athlete. It gives Northeast something to look forward to as these kids come up through their pipeline. They did lose in the championship game on just a heartbreaking last-second play with Richview, Clarksville Highs Middle School, scoring a last-second touchdown. I mean, definitely heartbreaking, but those are the types of games that really build character for these young kids. You know, you're never going to forget a game like that. It's going to make you hate losing even more. So as you come up, that's just going to make you play harder. And I really think Northeast has a bright future as these kids continue to come up through the middle school program.
Last team on our slate is West Creek. They were a big winner on this past week, 43-0 win over Northeast. What does this win mean for the Coyotes moving forward?
Yeah, this was one of the big goals for Rob Gallowitz's crew coming into this season. One of their big goals was make the playoffs. Another one, beat Northeast, because West Creek coming into this season had never done it. They had never beaten Northeast. That has changed, as you can tell, in a big way. 43-0 is no mistake. I mean, this West Creek crew, from everybody that I've heard from, we had Jimmy Troglin, who has been writing in this area for a long time. He was there covering that game, and he was telling me afterwards, like, West Creek is not a bad team. I mean, these guys got some players, man. And he's right. As you can see, 43-0, that's no mistake. And this win means, of course, other than it being the first win over Northeast in program history, they only need one more win to get into the playoffs for the first time in well over a decade. They play Dixon County and they play Kirkwood. And if they win just one of those games, they are in. So a huge win against Northeast there because of everything that it brings about for this program. The Coyotes are flying high, or should I say they are howling right now into this fall break week, because it's a good time to be a Coyote right now, of course. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what else happens with this crew, because it's a bright time. These guys got a pretty bright future ahead of them, and the playoffs could be a part of that.
We will take our last commercial break here in the Montgomery County Football Show. Coming up, we will have Brady reveal his Player of the Week award from last week, and then he'll preview this week's upcoming matchup right after this.
If you're looking for a color change, look no further than C Wraps. We're Clarksville's premier vinyl wrap provider, delivering high-quality work and exceptional customer service. We offer a wide range of services, including color change wraps, ceramic coating, paint protection film, and wraps for commercial vehicles. Whether you need a color change on a luxury car or commercial wraps for your business fleet, we have the expertise to handle any project. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation. Here at Rock and Roll Sushi, we're proud to be the original American-style sushi restaurant founded on great food and rock and roll music, boasting concepts and flavors that are big, bold, and loud. We're the only place to experience the rock you love and the rolls you love with the ones you love. Come see for yourself why we're the best sushi experience in town. Find us at 108 Morris Road in Clarksville, or visit our website at rockandrollsushi.com.
Meet Dr. Casey Sigerson of the Bone and Joint Group, Clarksville's only hand and wrist specialist. He's passionate about getting his patients back to living their life after suffering from an injury or degenerative condition. Dr. Sigerson treats all orthopedic conditions, from injury to recovery, and is dedicated to getting his patients moving again. Whether you need joint arthroscopy, joint replacement, fracture care, or help with a hand or wrist problem, Dr. Sigerson is here to help. Schedule your appointment today at boneandjointgroup.com.
When it comes to insurance, you want a name you can trust. Wendy Danielle Stack is here to help. With over 7 years of experience, Danielle and her team are here to assist you in finding the right coverage for all of your needs. From auto and home to life and business insurance, we have customized options for everyone. We'll work with you to create a personalized plan that protects everything in your life that matters most. Call today and see for yourself why Danielle Stack is the go-to insurance agent in Clarksville.
Watch it! Did that guy even see that girl on her bike?
Just like looking for other cars before switching lanes, drivers should keep their eyes out for those traveling on bikes. When a crash occurs between a vehicle and a bike, it's the cyclist who is most likely to be injured. Give cyclists room and do not pass too closely. Riders have the same rights and responsibilities as those behind the wheel.
Be aware, be alert. Brought to you by THSO, the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
Welcome back to the Montgomery County Football Show. I am David Wilson, sports reporter for the Robertson County Connection, joined by your man, Brady McAtamney, sports editor for Main Street Clarksville. Brady, let's get our Week 8 Player of the Week award, and then let's dive into the Week 9 matchup in Montgomery County.
Yeah, so I mentioned with our Clarksville High segment, James Dalrymple had less than 10 carries, almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he's not my Player of the Week this week. How's that for a fake out? We're going with West Creek. Daniel Honeycutt, a senior on that crew, one of the leaders of that team. He did it all. He's an offensive player. He's their punter. But what he did on defense this week was huge against Northeast. 3 touchdowns, including 2 pick sixes, 5 tackles against that group. I mean, he was massive for the Coyotes. Huge reason why they were able to get that shutout of their rivals and get that first ever win over Northeast. He really etched his name into Cougar history with that game, and he is my Player of the Week. We're going to get into our this is where we usually preview our games. However, there's only a game this week, so we're going to bundle in our game of the week and previewing our single game. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, it's Kenwood this week. They're going to be going down to Dickson County and taking on the Cougars. This game does have playoff implications. Both teams 2-2 in the region coming into this game. Of course, Kenwood on a 2-game winning streak. Dickson County is it has scuffled their last couple games, getting blown out by Clarksville High and Rossview in those last couple region games. So they are looking to get back on track. So 2 teams kind of going in opposite directions at the moment. And Kenwood, I think, has a chance to win this game with the way that they've been playing. If they can keep that defense humming, if they can get Jacoby Cox some time to throw the ball, some open guys, get Freddie Ellis going on the ground. I mean, he's arguably that best player on the team. Their top defensive player, their top running back. Of course, he's the leader of that crew. So if he can help them, get going on both sides of the ball, of course, Coach Sneed and the crew are going to be game planning for these guys all week. Kenwood definitely has a chance here. However, I did pick the Cougars to win this game because I do think that their group is just a little bit more experienced overall. I do think that Coach Tomlinson, he did have the bye week last week to prepare for this group. So they are coming in a little more fresh with a little more time to game plan for Kenwood. I do think that does count for something. Of course, it's going to be a road game for the Knights. So they do have those things working against them. That's why I did pick Dickson County to win by just a touchdown. And that is going to wrap us up for this week, the Montgomery County Sports Show. I've been Brady McAtamney, sports editor for Main Street Clarksville. That's been David Wilson, the Robertson County sports reporter, and we will see you at the fields.
You've been watching the Montgomery County High School Football Show with Main Street Clarksville sports editor Brady McAtamney and Robertson County Connection sports reporter David Wilson. Read this week's Main Street Clarksville for all the latest news about Montgomery County High School sports. The Montgomery County High School Football Show has been brought to you by the Bone and Joint Group of Clarksville, Rock and Roll Sushi of Clarksville, C-Wraps of Clarksville, Danielle Stack at Farmers Insurance, and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Join us again next week to get all of the latest news about Montgomery County High School football.